Hey guys, Lucas from iExplore here. Today I'm in Hachijojima visiting the man behind the camera, Axel, who lives on this island. I was here on a little vacation trip, but we're squeezing in a video. We're doing a video about the Viltrox 16mm 1.8, which I got from them. And the goal is to shoot this view behind me during sunset. I don't know how much of a sunset we're gonna get today. There's a lot of clouds, but we'll see what we're gonna get. Of course, I always want to thank everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you so much for that. If you do support us on there, you do get access to the Tokyo photo spot map, or you can also go to our website, iExplore.com, and purchase that map outright with a lot of cool photo spots all over the city. This is technically part of Tokyo, so I should probably add this spot to the map. So maybe next update, I'll add it. Which, by the way, if you do get the map, it's lifetime access. So every time we update something, we put more spots, you can still access the map. So anytime is a good time to get it. Also, I do want to remind everybody, or let everybody know, that I am selling prints again. Link in the description. And finally, if you really want to support our channel, the best way to do that is come to Tokyo and take a workshop with me or one of the other guys on the team. All right, let's get on to the video.
iExplore.
So recently, Viltrox sent us the 16mm 1.8 for full frame, which is cool because we previously got the 27mm 1.2 for APS-C, which, by the way, that lens is currently on the Z6 II that Axel's holding and shooting this video. So we're shooting the video with the 27 1.2, and the video is about the 16 1.8. So this is like a Viltrox themed video. They didn't ask us to do this, I just thought it'd be fun, and I've been using the 27 a lot, so I thought we'd just bring that along on this trip instead of bringing some other lenses, so just for this one video. But anyway, this one I'm very new to. I only used it in the city a little bit, a couple of days before this trip, because we're going on this trip, I didn't have much time. But yeah, it's like the other lens. I mean, all Viltrox lenses, they tend to have a nice metal build. It feels good in the hands. It's a little weighty because they use metal, so it feels more high quality than like a lot of Nikon lenses, which use a plastic casing. It has a screen on top, which is really cool. And when you like focus and stuff and change the aperture, it's a very, very precise readout, which is pretty neat. Which I guess is very useful for videography because you want to know the exact distance if you're doing like follow focus type actions. And then it has an aperture ring that can be clicky or not with the flick of a switch. And so far, it seems like a sharp, high-quality lens, the bit I've used it, but we're going to see how it fares with the landscape shot, which I'm going to use small apertures for, but maybe we'll do a couple wide-open test shots just to show how it is sharp, how sharp it is corner to corner. So, yeah, that's the Viltrox 16 we're going to use today. Right, so here we are in the spot that I want to shoot. I'll just put my camera down here. It looks really cool on this volcanic, like, lunar scape. Then we're gonna ditch the backpack and get my tripod out. Now, I shot this spot when I came here 2 years ago, but we didn't get a chance to shoot a video that day. And yeah, the spot is the same. I recognize the rocks. So I'll probably show some of those photos right now from last time. Those were shot, pretty sure, on the 14-24 2.8 Nikon. By the way, there is a typhoon on the way. Wow, and the waves are huge. And I don't know how well you can hear them after I mix the audio, but they are not messing around. It is windy and wavy. Actually, I'm gonna wear this in case we have to suddenly run from a big splashy wave crashing into the rocks. All right, let's see here. I found this cool, like, little rock formation here that I like. And I just thought it would be fun to try to shoot this. Now, everything's gonna get covered in sea spray, which is annoying. All right, and I'm just gonna start shooting. Oh man, I mean, it does look really cool with this stormy sky. I was a little bit, worried about the lack of the sun, but honestly, like right now, the way everything looks, it's pretty epic. So we're gonna go to a nice small aperture, 64 ISO, and a fairly long exposure, and get some. I'm gonna actually even go below 64. I'm gonna go to 32 ISO, what Nikon calls L1. For this kind of shot, I'm gonna put my histogram on the screen. I'm gonna underexpose it a little bit, so I can get about a half second. The other thing I thought about bringing, and I forgot to bring, I didn't really forget, I don't have the right size for this lens, is an ND filter, right, to slow things down even more. But I figured by the time it gets dark enough, because I remember last time for some of the shots I probably just showed on the screen, I was shooting like many seconds, very long exposures once it got fairly dark. So I figured I don't really need it. We just won't shoot that long at this time, which is fine. And I am eventually going to go vertical. But that's already pretty cool. Let me just get some variations because the waves are moving and it's a half-second exposure. So as the sea is churning, you know, I'm getting different things. Now, with a wide-angle lens like this, and what I shot last time too, and this is why I wanted just to do this spot again instead of looking for a different spot, because by the time we find one, the light's going to be gone, is that there is a foreground, a midground, background, etc. Because for me, I think a lot of landscape photographers, I'm not really a serious landscape photographer, but I think a lot of photographers will attest to this. It's nice to have a midground, foreground, background, right? If it's, you know, everything's just all far away with the wide-angle lens, things end up looking kind of flat. So in this case, I have this little interesting pool formation here in the foreground. Okay, oh, there we go. It's getting inundated with water right now. So one thing I got to keep in mind that I learned kind of a hard lesson for last time is I kept the long exposure noise reduction off. And then what you end up with is a lot of little dots around the frame here and there, depending on how long the exposure gets. What are called hot pixels. And what happens is when you have long exposure noise reduction on, is the camera will take a second exposure that's the exact same length, but with the shutter closed. I don't know how the Z9 does that, honestly, because it doesn't have a shutter. I don't know how it works in the Z9, but it does have that cover thing. I don't know how it works, doesn't matter. The point is it will clean up those hot pixels, but you do have to wait double your exposure time. So if you take a 30-second shot, then you gotta wait another 30 seconds to clean up those hot pixels. But it's worth it because then you see all these dots and you're kind of in Photoshop trying to clean them up. So I'm gonna do one here that's a little faster exposure. So I'm gonna go up to like pretty fast exposure. I'm gonna do a 200th, or even what? Let's just go wide open. Let's just go wide open, guys. The reason is, let's go like 1,000th, and then 640 ISO. There we go. The reason is I want to freeze the waves. I want the waves frozen. I want no motion. So I think 1,000th or even maybe a 2,000th might be good. So let's go ISO even a little higher to 1,000. So I'm on 1/2000 f1.8 1000 ISO, which is going to be not the highest quality photo, but in this case the waves will be totally frozen. And also this will show you guys what this lens, you know, looks like 1.8, because a lot of people, that's what they want to know. They want to know, okay, yeah, cool, it's very sharp on f11, but how does it look on f1.8? So you will see. I don't know what these photos look like because they're just in the camera. I'll see them later. I imagine they'll be fairly sharp, but we'll see how it looks corner to corner. I'll probably put 100% crops on the screen to show you guys. So I'm just looking here and there to try to get cool timing. I would love like a wave to crash up. Of course, not enough to completely destroy me here, but you know, something dramatic, especially in the distance there on those rocks. Sometimes the waves just crash up. It's very cool. And again, without the sunset, I'm not too disappointed. The sky is dramatic and impressive. And so I kind of like it. Okay, I'm gonna do one or two more of these fast ones, fast shutters, and then we're gonna go back to slow shutters and try to get that water as smooth as possible. All right, I'm gonna end up with way too many photos. I think I already have way too many. I already have 50 photos. That's actually not that much. I thought I'd have more. Another thing, by the way, I'm doing in this case for the autofocus, I recently added a setting on my Z9 where normally I use 3D tracking focus, which we did a video about, like street settings. This is obviously not a street photography situation, so it doesn't make sense to do 3D tracking. I just want to do the wide area tracking where the camera chooses. So I mapped that to the shortcut button, the FN button on the front of the camera. So I press that, and then the camera will just focus wherever it wants. And I find that better for this kind of situation. All right, we're gonna go back down to a minimal ISO, L1. We're gonna go to F11. And that right now is giving me 1 second. So I think we should turn on also the delay here, so that I'm gonna have a 2-second delay. I don't touch anything, and the camera's gonna do a 1 second exposure. And that's pretty cool, pretty cool. The water's getting pretty smooth. As it gets darker, I think it's gonna get better. And you know, one thing I realized when I did the sunset shots 2 years ago when we came here, which again, we showed already, there was a big amount of contrast, of course, and again, I don't have an ND filter, especially not a graduated one. So I just did an HDR where I combined the bright sky, I did an exposure for that, and I did the water. But because there's no sun today, it's actually quite an even exposure, which is good. So it makes my life a little easier. And I kind of like it without the sun. It's very dramatic clouds. Again, a few hundred kilometers west of here, there's a big typhoon wreaking havoc in Japan. And this is where all these waves are coming from. I already mentioned that I want this foreground background, but I also like this rock, that rock, and then this other island over there, which is called Hachijokojima, Little Hachijojima, basically. And I like that it's got that nice, fluffy cloud hat, which is pretty cool. Let's do another shot here. Now I'm going to reframe it in a second. I do want to wait for different light, but I could always come back to this frame. I tend to try to find that framing that I think is good when the light's not there yet. Like, I get here a little early, find the composition I want, and then once I find it, I stick with it and watch the light change. But again, for the purpose of the video, I want to mix it up, but also, I don't think the light's going to change that much, again, because there's no sun actually. The sunset is just this dramatic, gloomy thing. So I think it's easy to, mix it up in this case. No need to keep waiting for the same scene. Although the clouds are shifting through, which is cool. All right, I'm going to reposition just over there, right to the terrifying edge here. Oof. It would not be fun to go down there. even slowly, even if I just fell down or walked down rather than falling down, I would not be having a good time down there. So let's see here. So this is going to be more of just a landscape shot. I do want this cliff on the right, but just a little bit. And then I'm not aiming straight at it. I'm not having my horizon right in the middle. I'm still aiming down a little bit. And now it's gotten darker, so I could give it another second. All right, I'm on to 2 seconds now. 2 seconds, f11, 32 ISO. On a little side note, this sometimes comes up on workshops. People ask me, Lucas, why, when I go below like 64 ISO or sometimes below 100 ISO, it varies in the camera, why do they just say like L100, or on Nikon they call it L1.0, or Sony puts these two lines. There's 50 ISO, but then there's a line and a line above and below. People say, what is that? And they think it's like a fake ISO, like it's some sort of digitally manipulated ISO. My understanding of it is it's not a digital manipulation, it's that the ISO numbers have an actual standardized meaning. So 100 ISO on every camera, and even back in the film days, or people still use film, even on film, 100 ISO means the same thing. So you get the same exposure regardless. It's a standardized number, which is what ISO stands for. It stands for International Standards Organization, except in French. But when you go below 100, or in my case 64, it's still a real ISO, but it's not exactly 50, or not exactly, in this case, 32. So they don't want to call it 32 because that's like a false advertising, right? So it's, less exposure than 64, but maybe not exactly one stop below. It's approximately one stop below. For the purposes of a photo like this, totally fine, meaningless. It's just the issue is you can't use it to like meter, with like a meter where you dial in the ISO and stuff like that. All right, let's see here. Still a little dark. Okay, the light's going fast now. Let's go to 4 seconds. All right, so I reframed it a little bit and the light's going, so I could add actually more time. So now I'm up to 4 seconds. 4 seconds f11 and approximately 32 ISO. There's probably a ton of sea spray on the lens, but I don't think I'm seeing any of it in the photo. Wow, very dramatic. I think I'm going to go back to the vertical framing in a moment because, yeah, it just makes more sense here compositionally, where you have the foreground, these two big rocks in the water, and then that mountain over there in the distance. And it's performing noise reduction, so it's now, I do a 4-second shot, and the noise reduction is 4 seconds. I like landscape too. I'm going to do both here. Okay, I'm going to reframe just a little more. I kind of don't like the way the clouds are getting cut off now. I'm going to go back up a little bit. Real quick, one more. I love that little round rock with this like ring of water around it. It looks really cool. It looks like some sort of ancient thing that, ancient humans built or something. All right, I'm going to switch to video mode here real quick. And then I'm on a 50th, 640 ISO. Cool. And I'm just going to roll like 20 seconds because I just want to have this in ProRes on this camera, 4K, see how it looks. All right, so I reframed it vertical. I shot a little reel there for later, like maybe, a video for a reel, we'll see. And now the light's gone so much that we can go up to 8 seconds. All right, so let's see. Let's do an 8-second exposure. Big waves coming in now, splashing up on that side. I felt a little spray. And I think we're gonna start wrapping it up because it's getting a little scary, actually. The waves are pretty terrifying. Wow, I don't know if that was on video, but there was a big splat crashing wave over there. All right, let me just do a couple more just variants with this long exposure. So one thing I'm noticing is, like, you know, when I do the longer exposure, the water looks smoother, but also the clouds look less dramatic because they're also moving really fast and they also look smoother. And I kind of like the more dramatic clouds. So probably actually 10 seconds is long enough for like the kind of shot that I wanted to get. And maybe even the earlier, you know, shorter exposures were better with the more dramatic clouds. Yeah, looking back through them, I would say so. I think my favorite shots are earlier just because the clouds are amazing. Yeah, there's a couple shots in there that I like. Actually, Axel just tells me that he's shooting this on f1.2 on that lens, the other Viltrox, and he's only on 200 ISO with, you know, a 50th shutter for the video, which is pretty impressive in this light. So that's really cool. I hope it looks great. Again, I haven't seen it yet, but my expectations are, I mean, I would say high, but like I think I'm confident it's going to look good. All right, that's a great shot. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's the 16mm f1.8 for the Z mount for full frame. You saw what it can do in the video. You also saw what the 27 1.2 for crop sensor can do on the full frame camera in Axel's hands shooting the video. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget Patreon, book a workshop, check out our map, check out my prints, check out my book, all that stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. And remember, always challenge your eye. Oh, you're still here. Well, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That really helps us out, you know, with the algorithm. But since you're here, I want to remind you guys the different ways you can support this channel, the best one being coming to Tokyo or Kyoto and taking a workshop with us, or, you know, me or one of the other guys on the team. That's a huge help. Of course, we have some other things that we offer. For example, you can purchase a map of Tokyo photo spots. Currently, there are over 500 locations on the map, useful for planning your trip in Tokyo or exploring the city. Also, I do have a book out called Tokyo Unseen, so please check that out. And I do sell prints, so if you'd like one of my photos as a print, check that out as well. But last but not least, there is Patreon. Those of you who support us on Patreon, we're extremely grateful, and, you know, anybody who's thinking about it, we'd really appreciate that. That is another way to get access to the photo spot map. All right. And last little tiny thing, there are referral links to all the gear and stuff that we use in the videos, so just clicking on those links helps us out as well. And of course, all the other things I mentioned are also linked in the description. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.